Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Taco Tuesday. Let's talk about insurance. We've been off of this show anyway for a while. It's been a minute,
We
and
have.
guys, we're back. I'm joined with my co-host Glenn Shelton, and we're gonna be talking to you guys about some freaking training, y'all. Some freaking training. The good, the bad, the ugly. Mr.
Yes.
Shelton, how is your Saturday morning when we're recording this
Saturday.
going?
The Saturday morning Taco Tuesday. Guys, my taco is liquefied and black this morning. Mm, and it's delicious. Guys, we couldn't be more excited to come to you today. We wanted to talk about all things training related. And if you've been a viewer of the show or you've consumed some of our content before, you may have heard some of these stories before, but I don't know if we've ever kind of had a collective spot where we actually discussed all of these at the same time. So, you know, I think there's always been a stigma around training in the insurance industry. It's like it's always been this thing where like FMOs, agency, it's like nobody really wanted to do it. I think it's changed a lot now. I think there is a lot more training opportunity, and I think people are more focused on training than ever before. But there was always this like stigma, like, oh, I got to train the new guy, or oh, sink or swim, dude. Like, get out there and start selling. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's either
Yep.
gonna figure it out, or he's out of here. That and like that herd mentality, like, yeah, like it does work, right? Like, if you get 100 people and you just say, hey, here's how you quote insurance, here's the application, good luck, and you just kind of like let people figure it out for themselves, and they either figure it out or they don't. Like, you can do that, but the loss is enormous, right? If I gave you 100 agents and we had like two test groups, 100 agents went through the first agency with almost no training, and then the second group of 100 agents went through with a moderate level of training. Not saying like it's a boot camp intensive, like, 90 days retreat. Like, I'm not saying that intense, but at least having the access to the knowledge that they need. I would imagine that there's a big percentage of agents who would succeed with better training, right?
Yeah.
All that being said, I think we should start with our training coming into the industry. And I think you kind of had a different experience than me, maybe from, again, previous times we've talked about it. But
Yeah.
let's jump into it. Let's jump into it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, there was aspects of my training that were good, and there are aspects of my training that probably weren't good. But I would say overall, if I had to give it a score, I would say I had above average good training coming into the
A
industry for
B
sure.
plus.
Yes.
Would you say a B plus?
Yes, I would call it a B plus, maybe even an A minus, perhaps even an A
Ooh.
minus. Um, but ultimately, like when I look back, everybody at this point probably knows my story. But if you don't, I mean, just to give you the Cliff Notes version, my dad was an agent. My dad was an agency owner for 25 years when I got started. I got licensed 20, 21 years old, somewhere around there. I forget sometimes. And I ultimately, was super, super green, as we all are, right? When we first kind of get into the space. And my dad built his business, he started in 89, I want to say. And so
Crazy.
he built his business in a different world. He built his business in the 90s, the early 2000s, right? And by the time like even 2010 had came, his business was established to where he wanted it to be, and he had no desire to continue to grow it really anymore after that. So like he was relatively just kind of coasting and maintaining like so many agents do when they get to, I mean, I think at the peak he had about 2,000 personal clients, that kind of thing. He had five or six really strong, downline agents, contracted agents. And, but what he knew was really old school tactics, right? So what he knew was cold calling. What he knew was direct mail leads. Um, and what he knew was, going around and meeting different, agents that don't sell Medicare and building referral relationships. That's basically the base of his knowledge in terms of prospecting. Not necessarily his knowledge, but like what he was experienced at, like what worked for him. And so that's how I was taught. And so I would say like where my training was really good was just the overall training on, just the products, learning Medicare, just learning how things work, which is really confusing for a lot of agents to start with because Medicare is just kind of a beast. It's kind of an animal in terms of the complexity. And but and where we also I had good training was my first, I want to say like 10 appointments, maybe not even that. Maybe it was like 8 or 9. My dad, the system was I would cold call people. I would make appointments to go to their home because we did it 100% exclusively going to the house,
Right.
sitting at the kitchen table, and
Right.
he would go with me. And so basically, I would call, I'd set it up. The person would be just expecting me, and then the two of us would show up, and he would do the appointment, and I would observe,
Gotcha.
and he would close the sale, which is an approach I've taken over the years as well with new agents we've had in the office, right? Like, and I think it's been pretty effective, and it was effective for me because I got to learn. Um, where I would say the training was lacking was for my first 3 years, I built my business that way. I actually made, my first 100 grand a year as an agent, cold calling primarily, but I felt like I was growing really slowly. And I always just felt like there's got to be an easier way to do this. There's got to be a better way to do this. I feel like, I'll make 300 phone calls and I'll get one or two interested people a lot of times. Some days I'd make 300 phone calls and get no interested people, right?
Right.
Like it
Right.
just was like a snail slow. Like the only reason I did any type of progress that I did was because I was a fucking maniac and I worked myself into the ground. I made so many phone calls, but I did it the absolute hardest way I think you could possibly do it. I can't think of a harder way to do it than the way I did it. And so where I feel like my training was lackluster was I was being trained by somebody who built their business 20 years ago. And he
Right.
didn't really have a whole lot of, and it's not his fault, you just didn't know, but he just didn't have a whole lot of like updated tactics to kind of share with me. Even back then, if I was buying shared internet leads, it would have been significant increase over the quality
Right.
of conversations I was having, right? So like I had to learn new and innovative ways to get in front of people and get new clients on my own, 100% on my own. And when I really started
Right.
to branch off from what he was teaching me and kind of going off and doing my own thing, we started to grow even more and even faster. But yeah, so I mean, like there's aspects that I thought was great, but there's aspects that the way I was taught to do business, I wouldn't do again if I had to start over.
Yeah, I think that's really common too. I think a lot of these IMOs, FMOs, agency owners, a lot of people get set in their ways, right? Which can be super dangerous because you never know when the market's going to change or the way your prospecting is going to stop working. Really fast, you guys, if you need help training, if you're new to the industry, or you just want to learn more, or maybe you feel like something's missing from your sales process, Chris and I have come together to create Seven Figure University, over 200 videos going through all sorts of stuff in the sales process, scripting, marketing, carrier training. This is FMO level training that we're giving away right now for a one-time payment of $695. We have estimated it's probably around $200,000 worth of content that we have created and accumulated together and now edited and published onto this platform. Links below if you're interested in that. Hurry because it is a limited time. So check that out, sevenfigureu.com. Now, I know I'm pretty confident I've told you this story, but did I tell you how I almost died my first week as an agent?
I
I was like
do,
literally,
I do remember the story, but you should
yeah.
tell it again for the audience
Okay.
because it was
Yeah,
good. It was a good
if
one.
you haven't, I've told it I think a couple times. And I'm surprised I'm still in this industry when this happened because I remember my first thought is I'm like, what am I doing with my life? That was my first thought, obviously, like after this experience. But so my training, I think Christian definitely had better training than me. I think that without a doubt, if we listen to his story versus what I'm about to tell you guys, my training was 1 day of office training where, I was like getting contracted with all these carriers and, I didn't know what was going on and primarily life insurance, final expense, mortgage protection, learning about what the leads are, some of the scripting, watching some of these other agents do appointment setting. Then I like shadowed a couple different agents for a day in the field, similar to what you were talking about, where, the agent sets the appointment, or maybe I set the appointment, and then we both show up together, and I'm just kind of watching the other agent go through the sales process, trying to observe and learn. And I'm not saying that it was horrible or that I had zero training. That wasn't it at all, but at the same time, there was no structure to it. There, there was no PDFs, there was no books, there was no videos, no training library. Like there was nothing. It was purely just like, Glenn, watch this person do the job that we want you to do. So we're on this appointment um, with one of the agents in the office, and it's a follow-up appointment. And I think it's like a cash value. If I remember correctly, I thought it was like a cash value life insurance policy. It was something like an IUL. Again, this is almost 10 years ago now. So I don't remember the exact policy, but this was supposed to be like a follow-up second time around. He's there to get the check. I'm like, okay, sweet. Like I'm gonna see a deal go through. He was the prospect was a semi truck driver. So, his schedule is he works like 2 weeks of the month and then he's like off for a week or maybe 3 weeks he's working, he's off for a week. I don't remember, but basically when he takes time off from work, he's off for like weeks at a time because that's just how his schedule was. So, he didn't have anything to do or anywhere to go. So, we didn't realize this, but he had been at home drinking moonshine all day. Unbeknownst, unbeknownst to us, we show up and again, I'm this nervous green insurance agent. I'm probably worried that he's gonna see through me. So I'm like, I'm not even at a point where I'm like I thought the guy was kind of weird, maybe a little odd, but I'm not thinking, oh, surely he's not drinking. It was like 2 in the afternoon. I'm not thinking I'm rolling into this with someone that's just obliterated on moonshine. Well, classic sales 101 here. Like we're trying to emulate what he's excited about, what we're talking about. Guns come up. He's talking about, how he's a big gun fan. And, I'm talking about how I've shot guns before and, blah, 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 blah. And getting into all, he's like, let me go get it. I'll show you guys. Let me show you my guns.
No.
Obviously, at this point, I'm starting to get a little nervous, right? It's like, man, I don't need to see your guns, dude. Like, we can just talk about it. Like, let's get back. Like, we're here for life insurance, right? Comes out with a pistol. I don't remember exactly. I think it was a 9 millimeter. I think it was a 9 millimeter. We're in the kitchen, you guys. I'm in the kitchen. The agent that I'm training with, we're sitting at like this little bar stool in the kitchen. He's standing like in the center of the kitchen. Bigger gentleman, again, semi truck driver, and he's holding the pistol. He's holding the pistol like this. He's like, "Yeah, look. Oh, don't worry. It's not loaded. It's not loaded." And he's like, I just picked this one up. Blah, 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 talking about his gun. And then he goes to like show us and he sweeps across both of us like
Oh
this.
no.
And my heart went cold for like just like as he's sweeping across. And then he goes around to show it like he's showing us the other side of the gun. So like he's trying to do like this to show us the gun.
Yeah.
Right as he gets across to here, misfires. Literally sweeps across, shoots his cabinet in his kitchen. And we're all just I'm just like, what just happened? Woo!
So
And I'm
was there no clip in the gun and it was like there's one in the chamber?
I
Is that
don't know
what
if
it
it
was?
I can't remember now. I don't remember if there was one in the chamber or if there was literally a clip or a magazine in there that was loaded and he was just, drunk. We didn't realize it and he shoots it. He was so shocked. He was shocked that that gun went off. Obviously, we were shocked. Props to this agent though, because we had to drive like 2 hours to get to this appointment and he knew like he didn't want to come back. He literally goes into closer mode. He's like, sign here, voided check. And we were out of there. We got out of there so fast. We heard sirens as we were leaving. We didn't know if that was like unrelated or if someone called in the gunshot they heard, but we were hauling out of there. And I just remember for like the next 24 hours, I was like, am I really going to be an insurance agent? I'm like, is this really what I'm going to do? That was by far one of the craziest. Obviously, like if your training experience almost kills you, you know, it's a little it's a little scary to say the least.
That's incredible. One thing I think about in my training was so first week starting in the office, it was myself and really good friend of mine that I was in an MLM with that we were leaving the MLM with and going into insurance. And like we were the only like dedicated people on
We're
the
going
team.
legit
And
now.
yeah,
We're
like
going
we're going
legit now. We're
straight.
getting
We're
out of
going
the
straight.
ML.
And a fun fact, the MLM we were in got shut down like 2 years later for being a pyramid scheme. Um,
Oh, shocker.
I could do a whole
Who could have
podcast
seen
about
that
MLMs,
coming?
but
Yeah,
anyway,
we
so
probably should.
we definitely should.
We should.
um,
We really
anyway,
should.
so
I've
we
been in
get
an MLM as well. I'll disclose that right now too. I am also a multiple previous MLM member
in
as well.
three, ladies and gentlemen. I've been
Oh,
in
you beat me.
three.
I've been in two. Okay, that's a
Um,
story for another time, kid.
yes. So anyway, so we get our licenses and we kind of come in together. We're both 20, 21 years old. We're very young. And so we kind of come in together. And again, my dad is teaching us to cold call. So I remember the first day that we're cold calling, he hands us a list. Now, I come to find out this is like a 5-year-old cold call list. This is not like even a fresh T65 list. This is an old list. He gives us this list to split up between each other. That's what we used to do. We'd split the lists. We'd split like the
Yeah.
pages and stuff, and
Like
like
grains of rice. You're like, you get 6 grains of rice. I get 10.
yeah. So
Mm.
um he gives us the list and he's like, here's your script, have fun. And we're just like, we don't like we're like, aren't you gonna like demonstrate for us? Like give us an example? Like nothing? Like we just get a script. Oh, he's like, fine. Oh, I'll call one. What? What? And we're just like, okay, let's just hope they answer the phone because we want to just see a little bit. So sits
Oh my
down,
God.
makes the first call on the top of the sheet. Lady picks up. She has a United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plan. Like he's like going through it, he's like fact finding everything. He's like getting pretty deep into this call, and we're just sitting there like, is he gonna pull this off? Like, first phone call on a 5-year-old cold call suite, and he starts. We're outside of AEP. OEP didn't exist back then. There's really not a way this lady could change her plan. But he starts pitching her a
Right.
GTL hospital indemnity plan. He's like going down that rabbit hole a little bit. He's getting pretty far in this appointment. He's on the phone maybe 8, 9 minutes. And then eventually she's just like, you know what? I really am not interested, and hangs up. And we're just like sitting there in awe, of what just transpired. We're like, wow, that was actually pretty close, like, and he's like, there you go. There's your example. And he storms out of the office. And so like a lot of like we didn't get a lot. I think what we got the most experience on in terms of like examples was in appointments. We got to sit in on appointments. And at first we would all go together. At first, like all three of us would go to an appointment. So like
Whoa, that's a lot of agents on
I
one
know,
appointment.
I
Two, I
know.
feel like two's like
Yeah,
I think two can be an advantage sometimes. Like,
yeah.
but three agents on in one appointment, that's pretty crazy. I don't know if
I
I've ever done a three-legged appointment like that before.
I specifically remember we're standing on someone's porch, and I can't remember if it was my appointment or Ken Howe's, but we go up to the door, and my dad pulls the other one. It might have been my appointment, I think. I rang the doorbell, and Ken Howe and my dad are standing off to the side on the porch. So, like, if you look out the window or like the people, you can't see that there's three people. And so the person opens the door, and then they step out. They're like, just like standing
They're
off
like,
to the.
they're like, whoa, like, what's going?
Yeah.
This
And
is
so,
insane. I've
like,
never heard this story before.
the first little while, like we would go on appointments, the three of us. So like the idea was so both of us could watch one appointment, two birds, one stone, and get the kind of the experience. But like we got a lot of experience in watching him conduct an appointment, which was super helpful. What we didn't get a lot of experience of was like it's real common when somebody starts to like practice scripts and role play and just like get a lot of training on actually how to make a sales call. We didn't get any of that per se. It was more just
Right.
like here's your script, like fucking call the list. um
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
ultimately, like me and Ken Howe just kind of like taught each other. Like we would like role play with each other. We would look up like sales training YouTube videos, and like we started buying sales training books. And that's ultimately like we really kind of self-taught ourselves how to make sales calls, because the only example we ever really got was the one cold call from my dad where he almost sold a GTL hospital indemnity plan. But I think ultimately, like people are going to watch this and they're going to be like, Christian's complaining. I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to give you the full picture, right? Like, I'm not
Yeah,
complaining at all. I'm extremely grateful and satisfied with the level of training and guidance that I got coming in, because I know it was way above what other people got. Um,
for sure. For sure.
but a lot of it's not like I have personally trained agents myself that have been in our office that I gave them a buttload more training than I got at the beginning. Like I would go into sales calls. I'd let them watch me make sales calls. I've done a lot more training for people. And so like that kind of stuff was really kind of stuff that I had to figure out on my own, because like I had to figure out how to sound on the phone. Like I didn't know how to sound on the phone at first. Like I thought it was to my advantage to make my voice higher, because then like I'm like I'd sound less threatening. That was like my idea. I was like, oh hey, how's it
Hi.
going?
Hello.
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh-huh.
there was a couple appointments
It's
where I went
Mickey
to the
Mouse.
appointment, and the person was like, "Where's Christina?"
Good
And
Lord.
I'm like, no, no, Christina, just me. And they're like, oh, I thought a woman was showing up. Like legitimately, they thought a woman was showing up. I'd be like, oh,
Oh
hey,
my.
how's it going? And so
Christina's right
I didn't know. Like I thought for a while, it seemed like men would scream at me more often than women. So I did this experiment where I went through and only called women on my cold call list. I would skip all the men. And then I realized women would scream worse than men, like the pissed off ones. They'd be like, "You get the fuck off my phone," and I'm just like,
Dude,
and
that's so funny. I naturally went deep with my voice. I naturally, without even thinking, I just started going much lower than my normal voice. And I
yeah,
felt like people were more receptive. I mean, my training, again, similar to how you kind of self-taught, it was just like volume of calls, right? Like I just started doing it so much that it got to the point where it was second nature. And I wasn't really even
yeah,
thinking about it,
yeah,
hey,
same,
Mrs.
same.
Jones. Yeah. Hey, Mrs. Jones, this is Glenn Shelton. I'm giving you a call from the Mortgage Protection Center. I've got a letter here. It looks like you recently um, took out a mortgage with JP Morgan Chase for 350K. Is that correct? Okay, great. Yeah, I just need to ask you a few health questions to see if you would qualify for this benefit that would cover. the entire house if something were to happen to you, death, disability. Do you have 10 seconds? I can go through some of these. Just fast, not even thinking, you're taking notes. The people who get lost on that phone call, they're like, hello? Oh, is it not a good time? Is
Yeah.
it not a good time right now? Like,
How's your day going, Mrs. Jones? And they're like, who the hell is this? Like
yeah.
those sales calls kill me, when people call up and they're like, hi, Mrs. Jones. Hi, this is Christian. How you doing today? This is Christian with Handy Dandy
Hmm.
Insurance. How's it going today?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you just died right there. Like you're not getting anywhere. But like
Isn't that, don't you feel like that's the majority too? Don't you feel like
yeah,
the average agent, that's what they're doing? Like they think it's like when they call their friend, like that they're like, "Hey Christian, what's up? What are you doing?" It's
right,
like this isn't, you're not friends with this person. Like you're not trying to truly get to know them, especially at the start. You are literally like you have one objective and it's all about A to B.
right,
Do
right.
not deviate. A to
And
B.
it's crazy to me all of the different limiting beliefs people have about sales calls too. Like there's a lot of limiting beliefs out there, and you see them all the time from agents. Like I get all the time. Like I created really my own sales script, just over time. I just kind of scripted it over time by trying different things and just kind of seeing what worked
Yeah.
and what didn't work. I mean, I've put it out there publicly quite a bit at this point, right? With the sales training videos and videos we've done together, and then ultimately using it to call Lead Hero leads. That video, that was done earlier in the year. Like I've
Yeah.
put my script out there for everybody to use. It works, but I ultimately scripted it myself. I made it myself over the years, and it was really just endless tens of I don't know how many phone calls, tens of thousands of phone calls, 100,000 phone calls. I don't know how many phone calls. I have no clue. But just kind of trying different things and kind of seeing what works. And people have so many limiting beliefs about sales calls. Like one I get often is like, oh, you never start the sales call with a question. It's like, really? I a couple of years ago I sold 400 Medicare plans in a year, and every single call I started with a question. Huh? Like interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know I shouldn't be doing that when I'm writing all this business. Like and my script
That's,
really
I mean,
literally
once I
starts with a
get
question.
through,
This video is sponsored by none other than Lead Heroes, you guys. Lead Heroes is going to be your one-stop shop when it comes to your Medicare and final expense needs. People ask me all the time, Christian, what type of lead is going to be the best quality for me to work? And I don't really quite know if the answer is going to be a digital marketing lead, a direct mail lead, or a telemarketed lead, but I can say that a telemarketed lead is going to be up there with the best of them in terms of quality. A telemarketed lead has unique quality to it because there's a live person that actually speaks to the prospective customer and gets their verbal consent that they're interested and willing to speak with a licensed agent just like you. Whether it be a pre-scheduled Medicare appointment with a scope of appointment captured and then scheduled on your calendar 48 hours out, or whether it be a custom calling campaign where you call the shots, where your scripts are used, where it's the areas of your choosing, when it's the times of the day that you're choosing. Custom calling is where you pay by the hour, and essentially it's a custom campaign built to your liking. Lead Heroes has got you covered for all of these unique type of marketing needs for agents. There's a link down in the description of this video about Lead Heroes. You can learn more about these incredibly unique lead generation services, and I think you'll want to check it out today so you can continue to grow and explode your business.
yeah, I'm trying to get, before I can give them a chance to really react to the phone call. That was always my objective, was to get my lead in question was always getting them to confirm that they did do that type of they responded to that type of marketing, whether it was a phone call or a letter or an internet lead. Hey, Mrs. Jones, I'm going through the information I have, right? Because they're like, oh, this isn't a cold caller. They have info on me, right?
Mhm.
So hey, Mrs. Jones, I've got the info. And then I'm going right into a question. It looks like you sent this letter in. Is that right? do you remember sending this letter in? I'm holding the letter. I'm like shaking the letter on the phone. I'm like, you hear this? Like, so yeah, I think questions are super powerful. I don't understand that at all. And
Right.
I've seen the comments. I know what you're talking about. I've seen the comments about the question. It's like, I think asking, even if it is a yes, no question, it doesn't even have to be an open-ended, don't ask any yes, no. It has to be open-ended. Like, I think just asking questions at the right time is all you have to do, really, you
Right.
know?
Absolutely. I think a lot of the sales process is asking the right type of questions to get the right amount of information to determine
Yep.
if you can actually help this person. Because like how can you actually really pitch them anything if you don't know anything about their situation, you know anything about them? Like, and I think that's a mistake a lot of people make too, because they hear this, maybe they read a sales training book from 1926 or something, and the sales training book says
Right.
don't start your call with a question. So they literally go right into a pitch.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, you waste valuable time on the phone pitching someone something you don't know what they got. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you're trying to pitch MedSup. You're calling up, you're pitching them MedSup. The person's sitting there quietly, patiently waiting for you to finish. You find out they have TRICARE for life. It's like, oh, that was 10 minutes I'll never get back because I didn't ask a fucking question when I
Right.
started the call, right?
Right.
It
Right.
could have been a 45-second conversation, before I even went down that alley with them. And so, I think there's a lot of limiting beliefs, and I think it's just because, you know, most of the time, the people that say those kind of things are not people that have thrived in sales. They're people that like to be kind of know-it-alls, but they've never really excelled at sales. You know what I mean? Like, I also see it all the time in the Facebook group, right? Like, one thing I have noticed significantly since we merged that I never noticed as much. I noticed it a little bit, but I never noticed it as much, is
Yeah.
all of the bitching about leads that we've been talking about for years. Like, I see it much more clearly now. Like, people are like, oh, people
Yeah.
don't answer the phone. I'm like, how many times did you call? Oh, half a time.
No, you're not calling them enough.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
you called half a time. How did you do that? Did you like hang up before it stopped, ringing? Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean you called half a
Yep.
time? Like, you know, and I think it's such an interesting thing. And I wonder how much of that really kind of comes back to training, right? Like, is there no training being provided? Is there,
Yeah.
because I also feel like there's another piece of this puzzle too, right? Where like there's obviously agents that don't get training, there's organizations that aren't providing the training. That's all true. But the other piece
Hang
of
on, hang on. I have a story. Hang
okay.
on. I have a story because I think I know exactly what you're about to say. I want to share this story because I feel like we got derailed. We like started training you guys on this Taco Tuesday all of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
sudden. We
Felt
literally
bad.
went from like, no, not at all. I think there's a ton of value in what we went through talking about, you know, how we would contact leads. That was like a little freebie we just threw in there for you guys. But I want I want to share this story really fast because I had this wild, again, it was a very like Wolf of Wall Street entry into the insurance world. I come into this agency right as I'm starting to get traction. The entire agency gets recruited by another IMO. All of a sudden, the entire agency jumps ship and goes to a different IMO. I get made a field manager when the new IMO comes in and hostile takeover. And I get one agent underneath me at this point. And I'd only been in the business for a little over a year. I wasn't an expert, but I knew enough to be dangerous. And I'm thinking, awesome, I've got a downline agent. I'm going to train him up. I'm thinking I'm like on my path, right? Getting, you know, more income because potentially a little override on this agent. What happens is I can't get this agent to even show up in the office, you guys. They're dodging my calls. They are giving me excuses every step of the way. Hey, um, his name was Sydney. And the part that kills me, you guys, is this person, Sydney. Sydney, if you somehow see this video, I miss you, man. I wish you had stuck with me because I really do. what kills me is Sydney was a high performing salesperson. This wasn't a Joe Schmo, you guys. Sydney could have probably sold you the pen, right? Sell me the pen. He probably could have done it. Very personable, very likable person. Um, I thought he was great, but he wouldn't show up. He wouldn't show up. He was constantly making excuses. I was prepared to give him the world in regards to, hey, this is how I've made an income in insurance for the past 12 months. He wouldn't show up. He wouldn't show up, wouldn't answer the phone, gave me excuses every step of the way. I cut you off as you were going, but I had a feeling this is exactly what you were about to say,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, you
Yeah,
were
I knew it. I knew it.
we are in unison. We our
Yes, I
minds
knew you were
are
about to say this
connected.
because like you can give dude, we could give an agent the world. We already do. Let's be honest. In the Facebook group, the content we give away on this podcast, the content we give away, the university that I mentioned, Seven Figure University, there is so much information available that we've already provided. My book, Christian has a book. I just saw his book. It's like right there on my bookshelf. There is so much information that we've already given away, and it still doesn't matter. These agents, again, not saying all of you, but there's a lot of you who won't accept the hand that's trying to feed you. You'll just like, no, I'm gonna do it myself. I'll do it another day. Making excuses. I mean, you name it. It's so sad to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many agents buy seven-figure Medicare U or have bought seven-figure Medicare U and never logged in. Right? Like, is that seven-figure Medicare U's fault? No, you never even get
It's
into the
all your
course.
fault. You should have forced them to log in. That is
It's my
Christian's
fault. Yeah.
fault. You guys, if you bought and you didn't log in, 100% on Christian.
Yeah. I mean, I got a message from someone the other day. They bought the course in the Teachable days.
Right.
Teachable.
While
This was
ago.
like
Yeah.
2020, 2021 time frame, right? I think 2020, the beginning of 2022 is when we left Teachable.
Right.
They still were they were going into the old Teachable course. And they're like, I feel like, and this is like their first time going in. They bought in 2020.
Wow.
It's 2024. They're now logging into Teachable, looking for the course. Bought it 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Like that to me is such a waste to me. You know what I mean? Like, and it's one of those things where there's a lot of that goes on, right? There are lots of agents that I encounter, and I'm sure you do as well or have over the years that I call them time vampires. I've heard I didn't
Mm.
make that term up. I don't remember who did, but it's really a good term, so I'm going to use it. Whoever made it up, props to you. Don't remember who it is. Yeah, I'm not really giving you props because I don't remember who it is. But
You know what? You know what? You need to go trademark it. After we get off this call, go trademark Time Vampire if you can, and let's run with that. I love
yeah,
that.
but like what they do is they hop from
Right.
upline to upline to upline and get
Oh
taught
yeah.
literally the same thing from each upline, and they act like they never knew it before. Like it is so much of a in one ear out the other ear kind of situation. Like there's agents that I know that have worked with us to where I've poured into this person. Like I've spent
Mm.
so much time trying to get them squared away. Um, Even situations where like they've gone on appointments with me, like we talked about at the
Right.
beginning of this, right? Like they've
Right.
seen me sell a boatload of applications in person, right? They've seen me sell any type of application you can think of: life, hips, dental, MA, MedSup, over and over and over again. And they hop to a new upline and they're literally like, how do I look up doctors with humanity? They act like they knew nothing. They learned nothing from me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
Right. Right.
and like that to me, a person like that goes to 10 different uplines, learns the same thing from all 10, and goes to the 11th and is like, I don't, acts like a baby, like hold my hand, I don't know anything, kind of thing. That person is hopeless. There is no hope for that person, unfortunately.
Correct.
Um,
The saying that keeps coming to mind, you can take a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink.
right,
And like the quality of the training and the quantity of the training is important, but we can't force you to do it.
right.
Even even agents that are sitting in front of us, like we still can't force them to absorb the training, like
Right.
read
I
this,
I almost feel like
watch this.
there is 99.999% positive that has transpired from everything that's gone on with the Facebook groups, with, YouTube channels like mine, like the Lead Heroes channel, like all of these different platforms that put out training and put out these resources in a way to where it was never available before. Like you said before, right? Like we're already giving away the farm in terms of exactly what you
Right,
need to do and how to grow
right.
your business at a really high level. Like it's all there.
It's
Um,
all there.
we just hit 1,000 YouTube videos on the YouTube channel last week. A
That's
thousand freaking
insane.
videos of me teaching you guys how to do this, right? Like you could probably watch a video a day. Yeah, you could watch a video a day and
Yeah,
it'll take you
for
3 years
years.
to freaking finish them all. And I
That's
say that to
insane.
say, if there's anything I feel like that's even a slight hair of negative of the Facebook groups and everything like that, I think there's a lot of agents out there that get a dopamine hit from training, and they associate training with productivity. Not saying that it's not, but like they get to a point where they get this dopamine hit from training and all they end up doing is training. They never actually take any training that they've
No
learned and implement it.
implementation.
There's no
Yeah,
implementation,
no
right?
implementation. Yeah, the conferences are a great example of that. Really great conferences that you can go to. I see a lot of the agents going to a lot of conferences and incredible content, incredible training happening at these conferences. But how many of these agents are actually going back and implementing a single thing that they learn? So it's like there's like the agents who refuse to even do the training, and then you've got the agents who will do the training, but then they refuse to implement any of the training. So it's like this huge filter. Like Christian said, we already gave away the farm. It's all there. I've literally shared every secret I've ever had at this point. Like all of this content is out there. Between Christian and I, there's probably 1,500 videos, if not more, of content that you can go out and watch, blogs you can read, years worth, literally years worth of training content. It's all there, but you have to literally take the time to read it, watch it, understand it, and then implement it. And then you'll see the success, you'll get the results. And for some people, it sounds really simple to say it like right now on camera, but for some people, it's impossible to do that
Yeah.
to
Like,
absorb it. But like, and that's where an FMO comes in too, though, right? Like an FMO can help you understand the training and can also help you implement the training too, if those are hurdles. But it does have to come. There has to be buy-in from the agent. The agent has to do the work at the end of the day.
right. Absolutely. And buying every course you can, right? And, attending every webinar you can, going to every training that you can, that is way more fun than actually doing the work. You have this like you have this this dopamine hit of you growing and learning more and things like that. But like you training is great. I'm not trying to discourage anybody from attending trainings or buying trainings. Like I bought a ton of trainings that have helped me a lot. But you have to implement what you're learning. Otherwise, it doesn't have any purpose, right? And um, there's so many people I know that go to like there are people that I think of right now in my mind, and I'm not saying this to be rude or mean. They're lovely people, and I love these people. Like they're some of the best people you can ever meet. And I more feel for them than anything else. But like I'll see
Yeah.
them at every single event I've ever been to.
Right. You almost feel bad for it. That's kind of how I feel too. It's not like a belittling or I think less of them.
Right.
It is almost more of like, man, I wish you were further along in your career instead of trying to hit all this training, thinking
Right.
that this is what's going to get you to the next level. Like it's just you doing it. This I know you know everything, and I know these people that you're thinking of. I'm thinking of the same people, and it's like I know you already know everything. Just go do the work. Like it's more of like a social aspect, or wanting to be like, oh yeah, I saw that training, or I was in that webinar, or I was at that conference. Like they're just wanting to like be able to say they were there.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, if it really is like a workcation for you, if it's really like a, more about the social aspect and relationships, that's perfect and that's great and that's fine. But to me, I just think that there are a lot of people that just don't act on trainings, and it's unfortunate to see, honestly, because there's there's more available out there and resources out there than there's ever been before. Ever. Like I would have lost my mind
100%.
if all this stuff was
Yes,
out when I was new. I would have been like, oh my
100%.
goodness, like what is this? Oh, I can learn this, I can take this. Oh, I'm gonna do like I would be trying to do it all. I'd be working 100 hours a week. Not saying that you should try
There
to
were
do
no
it all,
Facebook
like, but
groups, right? No Facebook groups. The number of insurance related books. I mean, the reason I put this together is because at the time, you guys, there was only maybe a couple of generic insurance training books available that I was aware of. Um, Even like it was such a small niche of content that was a training content that was available, and a lot of it was like life insurance focused or PNC. Like now you can literally have access to almost any type of training you want, conferences for all sorts of different things. I mean, it's insane. Christian, if you're a new agent and you're looking for training, and maybe your FMO provides some training, maybe you just maybe you're independent, maybe you just want more training, what do you think the seven-figure university could really do to your business?
I mean, I think it should transform your business. And if it doesn't, there's a problem, right? There's something wrong because there's
Right.
been a lot of people that have gone through it that it either helped launch their career or it took their career to another level, one or the other. Um, so
Yeah.
it really should just transform your business, right? Like I can't think of anything you're going to learn anywhere else, that is going to be as useful, right? Like it doesn't have any fluff in it. Like I've bought training courses myself before, and I've bought some that are really great that have helped me a lot, and I've bought some that maybe not so much. And there's nothing I hate more than when you pay for training and it's a lot of freaking fluff. So like I'm very
Yeah.
aware of that. Like I gave a talk at a conference this past about a week ago actually. And I had a lot of people come up to me after my presentation and they're like, there's been some good speakers here, but like most of the speakers that I see when I go to things like this, like they're up there, they say, they talk a lot and they say very little. There's like very little like
Right.
actual substance. And they're like, you get right to the
Right.
point. Like you don't, like you don't beat around the bush. You just get right into the X's and O's.
Actionable.
And
Yeah.
and that's the
Actionable
way,
content.
yeah, and that's the way I've tried to make the university. I've really tried to make the university um no BS. Like if you want to learn about a Facebook ad, let's build a Facebook ad together on camera, right? Let's build it from start to finish. If you want to learn how to set up your Google My Business to get more traffic and to get people finding you online, let's put it together, right? Let's get right
Yep.
into exactly what you need. Okay, your profile needs this, your profile needs that. Do this, do that. And like, I mean, it probably
That's
ultimately,
that that's the power. That's the power of the university, in my opinion, you guys, is it's broken up in such a way. And if you go to sevenfigureu.com, you can actually see on that first page, there's actually a video showing scrolling through all the different trainings that you can actually access in there. And it just goes on and on and on. And it's all segmented, right? So if you just wanted Facebook ads training, you go straight to that section. You don't have to go through all of the course, all 200 videos. You can just go to the section that you want to learn more about, which has, if you feel like you're more of an experienced agent, or maybe you're an agency owner, that can be super helpful to be able to pull out what you need when you need it. It's like a toolbox. It's incredible. It really is. And the Facebook ads training, that's just one thing. There's the seminar training, I think, is super powerful. The systems training is super powerful. If you're trying to scale as an independent agent or an agency owner, having systems in place is super important. There's a whole section about CRMs and automations and commission tracking. I mean, guys, it just goes on and on and on and on. So if you are looking for more training, or if you don't feel like you have enough training, or maybe you're experienced and you just want to make sure you're up to date. We start at the very start of this video, we were talking about the danger of being complacent with your business, in the sense of not doing potentially some of the newer strategies that have become available, or the new software technology, whatever it is, for marketing, for sales. We update this university all the time. So having access to this is going to essentially guarantee you access to the newest available prospecting and software that can help you really scale and grow your business. So I think it's a huge, huge opportunity, you guys.
Yeah, I agree. I second that. I mean, Glenn said it best earlier, right? Like if this course helps you build your career to where you're making, let's say you go from 0 to making 200,000 a year in a couple of years, which you could do. It's a $700 investment right now till the end of the month. Like one time, $700 investment, right? I said it on a previous stream that we did talking about this. One true up, guys. If this can help you get one more true up this year, and it can, I guarantee you, even if you just like, lackadaisically go through it and just like, like your head's in the clouds, it can help you add one true up a year and it's paid for at that point. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it's, I've put so much work and time and hours into the training over the years. And I always tell people this too. Like, people always say how much they love the YouTube channel and the YouTube videos and the content we put out there. If you like the YouTube videos, this course is literally the YouTube videos on steroids. It's way more detailed. It goes way more into the specifics, the nuts, the bolts. It's less generic. Not to say the YouTube videos aren't great value for free, but because they are. But this is the step above that. It's very similar.
100%.
But it's incredibly detailed, and we try to share every single thing we do in the business that's helped us grow. And it doesn't really matter where you're at. There's something for everybody. There's if you want to start putting out content and growing your brand through content creation, there's a whole section on creating content. I share what equipment that I use. I share what softwares I use to edit. There's everything in there, and then some.
I don't know how we could potentially end this episode of this Saturday morning special episode of Taco Tuesday, better than some of our final thoughts about training. I thought this was a really interesting episode, you guys. If you are able to watch this, drop a comment below. Let us know what you're thinking. If you have a horror story about training that you want to share, drop it in the comments below this video. I would love to personally read it myself. Can you top almost getting murdered? Probably not, but that's okay. That's okay. You might not be able to top my story, but I would still love to hear from you guys below. Christian, any other final thoughts that you want to share before we wrap up today's Taco Tuesday?
Well, aside from literally dodging a bullet, which you did in your training, yeah, I would just say, guys, even if you're a seasoned agent, you need training to help you learn how to grow to the next level. Like, even me, right? Like, I seek out training from people that are farther along than me, because that's the only way I'm going to grow. You know what I mean? Now, do I seek training that are at my level or below me? No, I don't give a shit about that. But I I pursue training from people that are farther along than me. At this point, I think the only people that are farther along than us at this point are people that have exited for huge paydays and built massive,
For sure.
100, 200 person agencies. That's like pretty much it at this point. Um, with how much we've grown. But the part of the reason that I was able to grow the agency to where I was is from training. Training has really
Ongoing
helped me
training.
shortcut. It's helped me shortcut a lot of things.
For
So,
sure.
take advantage of it, guys. And then once you're in, go through it. Take the time. Turn off Netflix. Turn off Netflix, go through it, implement it, use it. And that would be my final thoughts. Just use it. Get into it, use it, implement it, and you won't be sorry that you did.
I think that's fantastic. Again, sevenfigureu.com. Comment, the link will be in the comments below this video or in the description below this video. Please, please, please check it out if you need help in any shape or form with training. My final thoughts, you guys, I would say that implementation phase. I think most of you out there are able to access training, whether it's our training or your FMO's training or some other training. Work on taking that information and implementing it into your business so you can actually see the ROI. I think a lot of people get lost in that step. So I think that's a critical part of this whole training conversation is, we can talk about the quality of the training, the quantity of the training. We can talk about, all sorts of different aspects of the training. But if you don't implement it, it's basically all meaningless and a waste of time, money, and energy. So that being said, you guys, again, thank you so much for watching, listening. If you are listening on any of our podcast platforms, please consider dropping us a 5-star review. Let us know what you think about the show. If you're in the group, tag a friend. If you're seeing this video, let them know that we've got a lot more content coming your way. And again, sevenfigureu.com. Check it out before the end of April. After April, it's going to be a subscription model, so we can continue to invest more time and energy and money into training for everybody, not just contracted agents, but we are looking to train every agent who wants to be trained. So that will be coming up here shortly as well.
Thanks, guys. Always fun to be back with you. If you want to see more Taco Tuesdays, let us know by commenting, liking, sharing, engaging. That's how we know you guys want to see more. And who knows, we might be back sooner than later with another Taco Tuesday. Thanks, guys. And make sure to eat lots of tacos, sell lots of insurance in large.
There it is.
See you
Sell
guys.
lots of insurance in large volume.